What do you do when self-doubt comes roaring into your songwriting process? You know, the creative process is filled with wonderful things, but also potholes and some sand traps and maybe a few sheer cliff drop-offs of frustration sometimes. And that's normal, first of all. But today we have a very special guest, Melanie Litton, a student of mine and friend, and we're excited to hear her story, which you'll get some really great tips about how to overcome this difficulty of the self-doubt through the creative process. And we're going to look at a song of hers called My Body is a Temple and tell her story and demonstrate how you can make it through like she did. Now, where's my button to bring you on? Okay, welcome, Melanie. Glad you're here with me today. Thanks for your time.
Glad to be here.
So, Melanie, tell everybody a little bit about your musical background before we get to your songwriting.
As a child, I started taking piano lessons with my grandmother for a couple of years. I quit in a fit of rage because I couldn't play as well as my sister, and joined the band on flute, added piccolo and oboe a couple of years later. And I didn't learn a lot of theory, but I learned enough that I could teach myself the hymns and the primary songs and a few popular songs here and there. So I had a lot of callings in the church where I played piano, for primary, for young women, or for seminary, for whatever.
Nice.
In 2008, I needed a job, and so I started teaching beginning piano lessons. I figured I didn't know much, but I could, teach what I know and then move them on.
Sure.
And as I prepared for those lessons and I taught, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about theory and how music works. And so as it went on, I was continually learning, or looking for ways to be a better teacher so that I could teach my students longer and teach them more. In 2017, I took the church's self-reliance class on better education so that I could continue in this process and even be a better teacher.
Yeah.
And during that course is when the Spirit came to me and said, "You need to compose." I was like, no, no, that's not my gift. I read what's on the page. I saw people that could sit down at the piano and just play, and I always envied that, and I would try to do that, and it would just sound awful. And so I ignored those promptings, but they came over and over and over again. And I'd open my email and this random quote would be in there, like this one from Spencer W. Kimball. I keep it on my desk. It says, "My plea, therefore, is this. Let us get our instruments tightly strung and our melodies sweetly sung. Let us not die with our music still in us." These random things would just pop up and the Spirit would just smack me. You get it? You get it yet? So...
Sometimes the Spirit asks hard things, doesn't it?
It does. So I gave in, and I just started trying, and with my limited knowledge, it didn't go too well. Till I moved to Ohio, and then the Spirit started dumping these things in my lap, like you, and like our area music conference that was run by Betty Wells. Just amazing things that have helped me on this journey.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I don't remember how you first learned about what we do here in Latter-day Musiversity. Was it through the hymn blog? Is that how you first found it?
No, I was asked to be the accompanist for the choir. And I was speaking with the choir director, and my husband comes up and says, "Oh, Melanie's been writing music." And of course, I'm like, just kind of tinkering. And she said, "You need to meet my friend Doug." And she gave me your email, and I texted you, and you were just starting to get these workshops going and start the Muse Evangelist Club. And
yeah.
think I was one of your first
You were.
students.
Who was that? Was that Latricia or Betty?
Stephanie Chapman.
Oh, Stephanie. Oh my gosh. Wow. It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Yeah. So you've been taking workshops for a while. You've probably been in some primary song workshops, some theory workshops, and that's great. You've done so good. It's fun to watch you grow, right? We have a reason we come, whether it's the spirit smacking us or a loved one or something. And for me, it's so fun to just see everybody come at whatever level they are and see how we can help you take the next step, which it's a joy. But whatever step you're at and however much experience you have, and this happens to me too, and I've got a lot of experience, the self-doubt is a real thing. So let's get into that, and let's focus it kind of around your song, My Body is a Temple, because I remember specifically this being a challenging one. It was for several reasons, probably. But so tell us the story first about the idea for this song and why you wanted to write it, and then we'll get into some helpful tips that you seemed to learn along the way.
My Body is a Temple came about because I saw there's such a pressure for that perfect body image in our world. And, my sister struggled with her weight. I had friends that struggled with their weight. My husband was struggling with his weight. And people would say, oh, you just don't know because you're so thin. Well, I had body image troubles growing up because I was the other extreme. I was so stick thin. And I wanted to be more curvy, and I wanted my hair to be curly, and I wanted my teeth to be straight. And we don't appreciate our bodies for what they are and what they can do. We always want to be something else. And as I've grown, I realized what a gift our body is, regardless of how tall or short, skinny or fat, or what disabilities we have, or crooked eyebrow. I've got a crooked eyebrow, and I've got crooked teeth. But that's not going to stop me from feeling hot, feeling cold, feeling sad, feeling happy. We can't feel those things if we don't have a body. And this is how we become like our Heavenly Father. And so I wanted to reach the young ones before they really get inundated with these images that their body is a gift. And they need to love it and appreciate it and take care of it.
That's really great. Before we jump into those tips, I just want to dig a little deeper into something you mentioned. You weren't just. It seems like, you tell me if I'm wrong. It seems like you weren't just writing a song to just write a song. It seems like there was a deeper meaning. Can you just speak to that a little bit?
Well, yeah. There's purpose. I guess I don't know how to answer that. I think there's purpose in everything we do, and there's meaning behind it, and that makes it more personal, maybe more of a challenge, because I'm not writing about, I don't know, colors or silliness. It's an important message to me to get out there.
And you could, write an article about the body, and you could make a video about your thoughts, right? But what is it about a song that to you is more special?
It sticks. When I was a kid, my mom said that I would watch TV for the commercials. When the commercials were over and the show came on, I was off playing. But I'd run back for the commercials. And she said, I used to recite the commercial jingles all the time. Cheerios. I can still remember that one.
That's a good one.
They stick.
Yeah.
Music is so, so powerful. And so if you have a powerful message mixed with a powerful tune, it'll be there. It'll be here forever.
That's so true. And there seems to be a special magic about how, if someone is, we see this a lot on social media, someone will post an opinion about whatever. And lots of people love to share their opinions, and we can have little opinion wars and maybe snarky, snide comments, maybe really outright mean comments, right? Because there's all this like cerebral ways of looking at things and cynical ways of looking at things. And, we all have our baggage and our backgrounds that we bring to conversations like this, but it seems like music can cut through that in a really powerful, unique way. And it's a little different for everybody, I'm sure, but for me at least, a melody, a tune, something that means something to me musically, I don't know, it doesn't trigger my intellect. It triggers something deeper, something emotional. And that what a great way to get a gospel principle through, right? Amidst all the chaos of opinions and so on. That's great. Okay, so my body is a temple, such an important message, especially for young people. And I remember when you wrote this, I have 4 daughters, and I remember thinking really, it's been a couple of years since you wrote the song, I think, and I think all my daughters were either in middle school, high school, or getting towards puberty age, and you really start thinking about your body a lot more. I remember how meaningful those discussions were. So let's jump into this process a little bit. You shared a few thoughts with me about this self-doubt journey, and the first one you mentioned about direction. So how does this idea of direction help somebody? Let's say there's a listener out there who's like, I've got this song. I know I'm supposed to write it for my kids or for my young women or for whoever, but I'm stuck. I'm afraid. I don't want to show it to anybody. I'm afraid of being ridiculed. Tell us how direction from God helped you through that challenge.
I wonder about the times when Jesus was afraid. And he did a lot of things that he didn't want to do for me. And he's asking me to do this simple, well, it's not simple, it's really hard. But in the scheme of things, compared to what he had to do, it's such a little thing. And why can I not put forth that effort to do this for him, to get his message, what I feel is his message, to his children? And I don't know what his grand scheme for me is. I don't know what his goals are. Does he want me to, go on tour? Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. Is it just for my kids? Is it just for me? I told you about those little smacks from the Spirit that kept coming. Have you ever heard the story of Push the Rock?
Oh, I'm not sure.
So there's a man who has a vision, and the Lord comes to him and says, there's this giant boulder out in front of your house, and I want you to go out and push that boulder.
Okay.
So the man goes out, and he pushes against it with all his strength and all his might. Well, this is a huge boulder. It's not going anywhere. But every day he goes out, and he pushes on this rock, and he pushes and pushes and pushes just as hard as he can. And, of course, Satan comes in, and he starts talking to him and saying, why are you doing this? You're giving all this effort, and this boulder isn't budging. Just give up. And, of course, the man starts listening to these thoughts, but he takes his troubles to the Lord, and the Lord says to him, I never asked you to move the rock. I asked you to push it. And he says, the man's like, why am I failing? And he says, you haven't failed. Look how strong you are. Look at how you've muscled and toned, and, your abilities have increased. You've been faithful, and you've been obedient, and you've developed. And now I will move the rock.
Wow.
Isn't that a great story?
That's a great story.
So I try and remember that story, and I don't know what the Lord has in store down the road. He just wants me to write. And so I try to write what I think is important. Maybe it's only for me. Maybe it's for my posterity. Maybe it's for the church. Maybe for the world. I don't know. He can use me. He can do great things with me.
I can see how when you get stuck on a song and you're doubting, should I even write this song? Is it even right? Because we get into the nitty gritty and what about this note and this melody and this lyric, the lyrics, right? And how do we get this right? We want to give, it's easy to want to give up, and it's easy to give up. It's like, who cares? Nobody even knows that I'm writing songs. What does it matter? But I love that you feel this direction, and even though maybe you don't understand why or where it's going to go, that you remember this was something I know came from the Spirit, and that seems like it can help in those challenging situations. Yeah. That's great. Great tip for everybody. Okay, let's move to a second. I don't know if it's a tip, but it's a situation. It's a reality, let's say. So I'll tell this story because it was so funny. We were in one of our primary workshops the other day, a couple weeks ago maybe, and it was Melanie's turn, and she's working on a couple of songs, and one of them is to words her grandson had said, and another one is to some lyrics that she's writing. And she said, you know what, something like, it's been a tough week, and it's like this thing I found, and she has this little social media meme, which I'll show on the screen here, of the creative process and stages. And it made me crack up because this is so true. It's like almost like grieving stages, of what is it? I'm going to get the grieving stages wrong, of like depression, and later comes acceptance, or there's denial, and there's bartering, or whatever the stages are. But this creative process thing is so funny. Stage number one, this is awesome. I'm being creative. Hooray. Number two, wow, this is trickier than I thought, right? Number three, this is crap. What I'm creating is awful. And then number four, I'm crap. I'm awful. I can't do this, right? And I think that's where you were that day. It's like, I'm at stage 4 today. I don't know about this. But then as we keep working and remembering our direction and why we're doing this, we get to stage 5 that this might be okay. And then hopefully eventually, if we stick with it, 6, this is awesome, right? This is so funny because it's so true. And I think it happens with every new song or piece that you write. Has that been your experience, that it happens every time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And when I'm working on a new piece, I have this kernel of an idea. The body's important. That's all I've got. And I read scriptures, and I read conference talks, and I study it out, and I'll write notes, what my thoughts are. And I'll have 5 or 6 pages of notes. And then I'm like, okay, I have to tell all this stuff in a short song. And I have to pick and choose what's the most important, and choose the words carefully so that it conveys the right message. I don't have a half hour to explain it. I've got a 30-second song.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to fit this into, an 8-bar verse and maybe an 8-bar chorus, and that's it. How do you? Yeah, that's really challenging. But honestly, I think as a creative myself, and hopefully for those of you listening also, this realization that this creative process is natural is important, because we all get to a spot in the creative process where we go, this is awful, therefore I am awful, therefore I'm giving up. That's just the creative process. That's part of it. And I've heard very experienced, famous composers talk about the same thing. They get to an end of a piece, they're on top of the world, and then they start over the next day, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this again. This is hard. So just realizing that that's normal is quite helpful for me. Which really brings us to this third tip that you mentioned of a community aspect. How has participating in the workshops and the community aspect and other aspects helped you overcome the self-doubt of songwriting?
It is so helpful. I couldn't put a value on the workshops and the community, as you put it, the group. Having a class, a deadline, saying class is on Monday, I have to present something. I can't just show up and just be there. I have to present something, and having everybody, even if I think it's garbage, here's my garbage that I came with this week. somebody says, oh, there's a little treasure in there. Oh, I like this combination of notes, or oh, I like these words. That phrase is just perfect. What if you did this or that? And it kicks off this brainstorming, and it's like a sounding board.
Yeah.
We have a certain perspective in these thoughts, and everybody else that comes has a different perspective, experiences, and thoughts. And it just helps to open other doors, windows, and the ideas come in, and it helps so much, so much.
Yeah, a friend of mine says it's hard to see the label when you're inside the bottle.
Ooh,
it's really true with your
good analogy.
Your writing, right? Because you're so immersed in it, and therefore have some blinders on, and can't even see what you're doing, really. And so to have other people with an objective eye who haven't been struggling with these lyrics, they're probably struggling with their own lyrics, right? But then to just have another way to say, oh, but wow, I wish I had thought of that chord. And you were like, oh, this chord is awful. But we're like, no, that chord's really good. Oh, there's hope. Maybe I can do this, you know? Yeah, I love that aspect. But I think you made a good point too about deadlines. It's funny, you know, we don't like reprimand you if you come to class without any work, but there is the sort of the expectation of like, we have 8 weeks. We got to finish our lyrics in 2 weeks. We got to finish our melody in 2 weeks. And just like the rigor of doing that, I struggle to get anything done unless I have a deadline. And that helps me a lot. Seems like that helps you too.
It does. And I'll tell you another expectation. The first couple workshops I took with you, honestly, every time I came into class, I thought somebody's going to say, don't quit your day job. But nobody ever does. Everybody's so, because they've been through this process too, and they know how hard it is. And they're like, you can do this, you can do this. And it's like my own little cheering squad.
Yeah. And sometimes we disagree on stuff, and it's okay. Like, I think that's one of the best things, because when somebody is brave enough to share their opinion with you, which it does sometimes take bravery to even share an opinion. Because what if my opinion is dumb? What if they think, I'm not going to listen to you, Melanie, for saying that, which never happens. We're always everybody's so helpful and open. But I don't know. It's really helpful, because me personally, I'm a hider. I want to go hide in the cave and nobody's watching me. If somebody's standing over me while I'm composing, forget it. There's no way I could do anything. But then the bravery of bringing it to class and allowing others to speak on it, it's scary still, but oh so helpful. And like you said, then we're in it together. We're all like in the same boat, no matter how much experience we have. And we've had, people with master's degrees in there, people with no experience at all. You kind of have to have some experience of playing, but yeah, it's a pretty special thing. So when you get to, we have all these little pitfalls and potholes and self-doubt traps along the way through lyrics and melody and harmony and getting the piano part right. But tell me about the experience of getting to the end. Like when we say it is finished, which is what we're all hoping to hear, what is that experience like for you?
Exhilarating. I've made something. I've created something, and it's pretty good, and I like it, and maybe somebody else will like it too. Yeah. I can't think of another word. It's exhilarating, and it's enough to help you, to give you a little boost when you get into that stage 3 and 4 again. This is crap, and I'm crap. You're like, but I've done this before, and I've gotten to stage 6, and I can do it again.
Yes. It kind of reminds me of my wife in labor, almost like, the first baby, it's like, I don't know if I can do this. Then the second baby's like, I did this. I can do this again. And then by number 6, it's like, get out of the way. Here we go. Boom. but it's kind of songwriting labor pains in a way. It's tough. You have to really work at it. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, speaking of your excellent work, why don't we play your song now so everybody can hear your beautiful song, My Body is a Temple. So before I play it, let me show you the lyrics, because I want you to hear these lyrics. Writing lyrics is not easy. I want to take a minute to appreciate these beautiful lyrics that Melanie wrote. My body is a temple, a sacred gift from God. The world would like me to believe it's faulty and flawed. It's a dwelling for my spirit to live and learn and grow. God made me in his image, and I have come to know, and that's the end of the verse, and now the chorus comes in, I can create and I can feel no matter what my reflection reveals. I can repent and I can covenant, and I can progress towards perfection. Then we have sort of a secondary verse, a little contrasting section. It matters not what size I am or the color of my skin. I am a child of God, and I can someday be like him. I am thankful for my body. I'll treat it with great care. So when I look in the mirror, I'll see my temple there. Love that. And then the chorus repeats, I can create and I can feel no matter what my reflection reveals. I can repent and I can covenant and I can progress towards perfection. Beautiful. Okay, thank you, Melanie, for letting us share your song. What a beautiful song. And that line about the temple, I remember when you were writing it, that was, how do we work that in? Because we got to figure out, my body's a temple, and we got to get to that point. And I think it's just the right place, because we've been through a verse, we've been through a chorus, then we go through that kind of, there's a little bit of doubt in that second verse, and then it takes us to the key point, my body's a temple, and then we get the chorus again. It's just really well planned out, I think, in the structure of the song. So anyway, beautiful song. Thank you so much for letting us share it.
I will tell you, that last line, it evaded me for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I couldn't come up with it. And I was texting back and forth with Latricia, and Latricia said, how about something like this? And I was like, ah. So another benefit to having that community, when you just can't find the words, somebody else has been thinking about your song, and they can help you out.
Yeah, I think that works so well because we're all there for the same reason. You know, we all have this desire to create something because we feel inspired to by our Heavenly Father, and it's not really about us. It's about maybe I can bless somebody with this. And so in that in that perspective, through that lens, we also then want to help each other. And yeah, it never ceases to amaze me how that works with all of us, and it's pretty special. So to recap today about the songwriting self-doubt, some really helpful things that Melanie's helped us remember is, first, when you're getting stuck, remember the inspiration you had. It's still right. It's kind of like that Elder Holland talk. Remember the faith you've already won. Hold your ground, kind of a thing, right? And that can really get you through a tough day. Number two, realizing that there is a creative process and maybe even a grieving process in the creativity, and you have to go through, oh, this is crap and I'm crap, and then work through it and get to, this might be okay, and hey, this is awesome and exhilarating. That helps me, just realizing, oh, I feel bad about this. All right, I'm at stage 4. It's natural. It happens. I can keep going. And then lastly, to find a way to have a little bit of pressure, maybe some deadlines and some expectation of showing up, but then also have an environment where you can share and feel comfortable sharing and get comments is very helpful. So hopefully that will help all of you listeners when you get stuck next time. And Melanie, thank you for being my guest. Is there anything that you'd like to say as we end?
I am just so grateful for you and for our community, for the Muse Evangelists. It means everything.
Well, thank you.
Thanks so much for all you do.
It's such a pleasure for me. I'll tell you, every time I have a bad day and then we have a class that day, like, it takes me about 5 seconds and my day is all better because we're there and we're working together and we're doing good things. It's a special place. So, listener, if you're interested in learning some things too, you can, I've got a little free course for you actually down below this video. There's a link where I give you 7 free lessons about how to do a little bit of writing. And we start very slow. We start with, okay, here's a hymn that you know and love. How could you add a new chord in there? And so there's 7 little tips, which I send you over 7 days to get that pump primed and see that there is creativity in you and you can write. If you can play some of the songs in the hymn book and the children's songbook, you can write. And Melanie is a testament of that. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks again, Melanie, for coming, and we'll see you all next time.